Long before Columbus crossed the Atlantic, and at the same time caravans were crossing Europe and Asia, Africa already had powerful trade networks. Two of the most important were the Trans-Saharan trade routes in West Africa and the Swahili Coast sea trade in East Africa. These routes connected Africa to the wider world and played a major role in early global trade. Across the Sahara Desert, long lines of camels moved slowly through the sand. These caravans often traveled before sunrise to avoid the worst heat. Men dressed in indigo cloth and leather guided the camels, using stars, landmarks, and memory to find their way from one oasis to another. The camels were called ships of the desert because they could survive long journeys without water. The camels carried large blocks of salt from places like Tagaza and Taudeni in the north. Salt was very valuable in West Africa. In return, gold mined from areas like Bambouk and Akan was carried north. When salt and gold met, towns grew into busy trade centers. Cities such as Timbuktu, Gao, and Djenné became famous markets. Traders from many lands gathered there to buy and sell goods. They argued over prices, weighed gold dust on small scales, and used cowrie shells as money. Women played key roles in trade, running stalls and managing business. Storytellers, called griots, sat under trees, singing about families, deals, and history, so knowledge would not be forgotten. Religion and learning also grew in these cities. Mosques made of mud brick stood near the markets. Students traveled long distances to study law, medicine, astronomy, and religion. Scholars in Timbuktu read the same books as scholars in Cairo and Fez. Powerful kings understood the value of trade. The rulers of Ghana taxed every caravan that passed through their land. Later, the Empire of Mali became even stronger. One of its rulers, Mansa Musa, became famous for his journey to Mecca. He traveled with so much gold that he gave it away freely, causing prices in Cairo to rise and fall. Under Mali and later Songhai, trade routes were protected by armies, allowing merchants to travel safely. Trade did not move only goods, it moved ideas. Islam spread across West Africa through traders, teachers, and travelers. It mixed with local traditions instead of replacing them. Buildings showed new designs, such as carved wooden doors and writings from the Quran on walls, while still keeping African styles. But trade also brought suffering. Many people were captured during wars or raids and forced to walk across the desert in chains. Millions were sold into slavery over many centuries. The same routes that carried gold and salt also carried human pain. On Africa's eastern coast, trade followed the sea instead of the desert. Sailors understood the monsoon winds and used them like a natural clock. For part of the year, winds pushed ships from Arabia to Africa. Later in the year, the winds changed and carried ships back toward India and beyond. Along this coast, trading cities grew, including Mogadishu, Mombasa, Kilwa, and Sofala. These cities were independent, but connected by the ocean trade. The people there became known as the Swahili. The Swahili culture was a mix of African and foreign influences. Local Bantu people married traders from Arabia and Persia. Their language, Swahili, mixed African grammar with Arabic words. Today, millions still speak it across East Africa. Swahili cities were well planned. Houses were built from coral stone and had decorated doors and inner courtyards. Rainwater was collected in underground tanks. Skilled workers made furniture, jewelry, and tools that were traded across the ocean. Many goods passed through these ports. From the African interior came gold, ivory, iron, timber, and animal products. In return came silk, cotton cloth, glass beads, ceramics, spices, and metal tools from Asia and the Middle East. Kilwa became especially rich and even made its own gold coins. Travelers wrote about its beauty and order. Religion also spread along the coast. Mosques served as places of worship, learning, and discussion. Islamic law influenced society, but local customs remained strong. Women often owned property and ran businesses, while men sailed for months at sea. Trade connected East Africa to distant lands. Chinese porcelain has been found in African ruins. Persian and Indian goods were common in Swahili homes. In one famous event, a ruler from Malindi sent a giraffe to China. The Chinese believed it was a magical creature, showing how far these connections reached. Everything changed when European ships arrived. In the late 1400s, Portuguese ships appeared with cannons and a desire to control trade. They built forts and attacked cities like Kilwa. Later, Omani rulers pushed the Portuguese out, and Zanzibar became a center for clove farming, powered by enslaved labor. Even though these old trade systems were damaged, they did not disappear completely. Languages survived, cities adapted, trade continued in new forms. These African trade networks helped shape the world. Gold from West Africa filled banks and treasuries far away. Ivory and timber from East Africa were used in Asia. Scholars in Timbuktu wrote about science, medicine, and mathematics. They proved that Africa was part of the global exchange of knowledge. Today, the legacy remains. Old trade paths became modern roads. Coastal towns still show Swahili architecture. Ancient manuscripts from Timbuktu are now preserved and shared digitally. Swahili is spoken across many countries. This story is about people who learned to read the wind and the desert. They built cities, shared ideas, and connected worlds long before modern technology. Camels and wooden ships were their tools. Trade was their power. And through these routes, Africa helped shape global history. You've been watching Yesterday Explained. Subscribe for more documentaries that uncover the systems behind history. Like, share, and comment to support the channel. Until next time, understand the past, see the present clearly.